Hello, and welcome back to another episode of the Eastern Mediterranean Times podcast. I'm your host, Martin Mont.
And I'm your host, Joshua Litke.
All right, we have a lot of news coming out of the Eastern Med this week. The siege of Gaza is ongoing, and Israel has given Gaza an ultimatum over the weekend of 24 hours to move all of the civilians out of the Gaza Strip. That's over 1 million people before they invade to take out Hamas once and for all. The movement of 1.1 million people has been criticized internationally because it's seen as a humanitarian crisis. One city, including the city of Khan Yunis, the population in that city has increased over 60% to over 1 million people from just 400,000 people over the course of this weekend. And the World Health Organization warning that the humanitarian crisis will further problems of shortages in the medical industry, as well as food, water, and basic human necessities.
Yeah, so we're also seeing responses coming out of the United States and European Union to this mass movement and mass evacuation of northern Gaza. The United States Secretary of State Antony Blinken, while still supporting Israel and pledging to support its sovereignty and any moves that it makes, has also been looking to create safe passages for refugees and safe areas for refugees to also gain access to more humanitarian aid and basic necessities. The European Union has tripled its funding to Gaza for humanitarian means, especially for clean water, food, shelter, basic human needs, and safe passageways.
Yeah, and the fear is pouring over to the northern border of Israel as well as Lebanon braces for conflict, with the fear that Hezbollah, a group associated with Hamas but separate, that is residing out of Lebanon, will drag them into the war possibly.
Yeah, so Hezbollah has so far had a muted response. There has been a few mortar and artillery attacks that have come over from southern Lebanon into our Israeli-Palestine conflict. And as a result, there's talks that Hezbollah might be dragging Lebanon into this war, and Israel might be responding to those.
Yeah, and a lot of countries surrounding Israel have kind of gone with a unity response that the United Nations has gone with, where they condemn the human rights of the atrocities that are happening, but they stay neutral on the terms of the conflict. And Lebanon fears that their view in this might be challenged by a possible interference with Hezbollah.
Yeah, and experts are saying that there's concerns here about like how Hezbollah is going to, it's kind of facing some means of a dilemma because they're part of this axis of resistance to Israel with Iran and Hamas, and not responding and protecting or trying to protect Hamas in any way that they can could result in a lack of delegitimizing or a lack of legitimacy for Hezbollah, whereas if they do respond, they also face the wrath of Israel and the United States for their actions.
Yeah, and another country in the region to look out for in the coming weeks as they make more comments is Turkey. Turkey has come out in the past as a pro-Gaza, pro-Palestine government and has supported that in the past, but they've been relatively quiet. They're waging their own front right now in northern Syria against the YPG, and the international community has kind of overlooked that, going more with the Israel story than with the YPG. But it will be interesting to see the Turkish response if an Israeli invasion of Gaza does go forward, which it looks like it will.
Yeah, indeed.
Now, moving over to Greece, over 300,000 euros worth of quote-unquote liquid gold, meaning olive oil, has been stolen in Greece. Do you want to give me more on that?
Yeah, so farmer collectives in Greece have been facing a rise in theft of olive oil, mainly due to olive oil spiking in price so much and value due to like climate change concerns and supply chain issues across the three big producers, Italy, Spain, and Greece. And especially seeing as some of these countries like Greece have incomes for individuals that are lower than the European Union's standards, a lot of people have been resulting to some means of thefts and heists of olive oil, even over things like jewelry, to make ends meet in this cost of living crisis.
Yeah, the latest heist, if that's what we're going to call it, is the 37 tons of product from a warehouse was stolen. 37 tons, which is, again, 300,000 euros worth of olive oil.
Yes.
Now, moving over to Italy, and a year ago, Giorgia Meloni won prime ministership in the Italian election. Her party, the Brothers of Italy, winning about 25% of the vote and establishing her government. And a year in recap is what we're dealing with today. Giorgia Meloni has made controversial points in the past. She continues to make controversial points. A lot of her views have changed. Giorgia Meloni was originally a supporter of both Donald Trump and Vladimir Putin, but now she works with President Biden and she works with Volodymyr Zelensky and has been a staunch supporter of Ukraine. She also has worked with the French government and Emmanuel Macron and Richie Sunak from London.
Yeah, while she may have moderated herself more on foreign policy and moved herself more towards the democratic West ideals on foreign policy, there are definitely concerns within Italy on domestic social issues, especially those relating to LGBTQ plus rights, which have definitely been downgraded since she has gone into office, as she's pushing traditional family values as a major part of her agenda in the country.
Yeah, and one of the other problems that has come up with her campaign is her critical response to migration problems. Italy has faced a lot of migration problems over the course of the year. These problems are not going to go away anytime soon. We've reported on a lot of them within the Eastern Mediterranean times. She's gone to many places around Italy. She's gone to Tunisia. And the response has been to stop the migration concerns in Africa before they get to Europe. And that's a very critical viewpoint.
Yes.
All right. This has been the Eastern Mediterranean Times. I've been your host, Martin Mont.
And I'm your host, Joshua Litke.
Thank you for tuning in accordance with the Institute of Eastern Mediterranean Studies in Boston and in association with Emmanuel College Boston. Have a great week.